Three. Hello, Steve. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Freshly up and got myself a nice cup of tea. So I'm good.
Wonderful. And thank you very much, Steve, for giving me this opportunity to interview.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
So, friends, here is Steve with an envious Cyprus background, beautiful scenery. I said, hey, that's really envious, Steve. So, friends, jokes apart. So, let me get into introducing Steve. Steve Neale, a dynamic and engaging speaker, trainer, consultant, and coach. Steve Neale has helped more than 40,000 leaders. Friends, let me underline it, leaders. To date, Steve is a qualified psychologist, business psychologist, executive coach, hypnotherapist, mindfulness instructor, and emotional intelligence practitioner. He is an international author and currently teaches on 5 international executive MBA programs around Europe. He won the UK Government Award for Best Training Course, and his book, Emotional Intelligence Coaching, was nominated for the Financial Times Goldman Sachs Best International Business Book of the Year Award. He is also the founder and developer of the Accredited Masters in High Performance Leadership Program and the creator of the comprehensive and practical online leadership course, the Limbic Performance System for Outstanding Leadership, which is the topic of our interview today. This program has been used to change the education system in all schools in Lithuania and is Lithuania.
Lithuania.
Steve, my apologies. Lithuania is one place in India, so my brain
okay.
My sincere.
Haven't been there.
Oh, and is also being shared globally by the United Nations. Steve has a unique ability to take the newest and most useful science on human behavior and translate into accessible practical tools. He delivers this knowledge and these tools in an engaging and unique way, always with a focus on helping you with lasting change and bottom line. So Steve, what I loved is how you are using the latest research that is happening and simplify it and deliver the programs. Because if I read a published journal on brain or neuroscience and this and that, what do I do with that? So thanks to filling that or bridging the gap and bringing this science and making it into useful simplified tools. So how all it started, Steve?
How it all started, I don't know. I think so my original degree at university was pharmacology.
Okay.
And I qualified as a pharmacologist before I became a psychologist. And so I kind of was interested in the body and how to fix it and how to help people. But I realized that the physiological side and the pharmacological side wasn't my passion. It was more the mind. And so very soon after I qualified as a pharmacologist, I became and started to study psychology and then dedicated 5 more years to study. And the more I did it, the more I realized this is what I love. First of all, let's start with my core belief. I believe that everyone in this world has the right to live a happy and fulfilled life and be treated respectfully and fairly. This is what gets me out of bed in the morning. And so basically, I use the values that myself and my company live by, which is passion, authenticity, quality, and making a difference. This is what we're founded on. And I've been passionate about helping people to have that kind of quality life just through the tools that I've learned, in the way that I can do it best. There are so many different ways you can help people. My way is, I was a little bit of a personal development and qualification junkie. So certainly now I'm in my 50s, but when I was in my 30s and 40s and even 20s, I went from one qualification to another, to another, to another. And that gave me quite an holistic view, I guess, of all the different approaches and tools that were out there that could help people. And you talked about the Limbic Performance System, which is my program for leadership and for teams. I've got two aspects to it. And what I've done in that system is I've kind of taken everything that I've learned and know and said to people, well, I don't know if this works for you because you're an individual. It worked for that person and it didn't work for that person. So let's try hypnosis. Let's try some cognitive behavioral stuff. Let's try some, hypnotherapy. Like I said, let's try some counseling, therapy. Let's try some coaching. Let's try some, and the list continues. And it's just a list of the things that I've learned so far, which I've put into this holistic program. And it seems to work because, I believe we're all individuals and there is no one size fits all.
Yes.
So it's great to have that diversity of different ways of helping people grow and develop in one system. So that's what I've tried to create. And of course, it's organic. It keeps growing. It keeps extending. It keeps changing because I don't know everything and there's a lot more to know and there's new discoveries all the time. So this is very much an organic program.
Beautiful. That's how it all started. And tell me, how did you land up into corporate world, Steve? And that to 40,000 leaders. It's not it.
Yeah. So there I was, somewhere in my late 20s, just qualified as a psychologist and a business psychologist. And I was like, what am I going to do with this? Okay. So how it all started, I had a Danish friend, a lecturer who was working in the field of communication and negotiation. And he knew that, I was very passionate and very keen to get started in my career. And he was teaching on an executive MBA program in Lithuania for an organization called the Baltic Management Institute. It's the biggest accredited executive MBA program in the Baltic states. Mm-hmm. And he called me up and said, Steve, I'm really well connected here and they need some leadership training. And they've lost their previous lecturer. And there's a course coming up in about a month's time where there's going to be 50, 60 CEOs in a room and they need leadership training. Can you do that? And my immediate response without hesitation was yes. And then I got off the phone and went, what's that? What's leadership training? that can't be so. I love that. That can't be so difficult. That can't be so difficult, right? Yeah. And then as I dug deeper from the psychological elements and I read a couple of books on emotional intelligence and similar related topics, I realized that the human element of leadership training is twofold. First and foremost, if you're ever going to be a great leader of others, you've got to be a great leader of yourself. You've got to practice what you preach. You've got to be authentic. You've got to have a healthy level of self-belief. You've got to have a healthy level of self-awareness. So you take care of and balance your mental, physical, and emotional and spiritual energies. You've got to be passionate. You've got to be authentic. You've got to have all of these different qualities. And then there's the relationship element. However good you are at understanding and leading yourself, you've also got to be an authentic, and I emphasize the word authentic, there's no manipulation here, an authentic leader of developing and growing relationships. And that means that, you have high levels of respect for others, you're empathic, you're a great listener, you are having healthy levels of trust and openness with others. You help others to have a safe space when they talk to you so they can share their strengths and also their vulnerabilities and fears. How amazing is that if you have a leader like that you don't have to be afraid and always put on a face and pretend that you've got it all sorted if you don't. And so I realized that that's what it was actually. And what actually happened was it was my first ever paid training as a psychologist. I went over to the Executive MBA program. I did 3 days with 50 or so leaders. And instantly it became the highest evaluated course on the program that they'd ever seen in the 7 or 8 years they'd been running it. And I got about 20 companies. I had about 20 corporate companies book me and ask me to do internal training. And it just grew from there. No marketing, no strategy, no sales, just me sharing what I'm passionate about and my interpretation of leadership, I guess. So yeah, that's what happened. That was, I don't know, 20 something years ago. Let's not talk too much about numbers. Yeah.
And Steve, please tell more about what do you teach about this? What is this? You just stated how it started. Now tell about what is. Now let's open the box, unpack
Yeah.
it.
So several people that I've done training with after they've experienced the training have described what, and I say I because it's we now, because I have an international team of consultants and certified coaches as well, and facilitators that run my programs, and most of it's also online. And what they've told me and my team is that this program is like the bridge, because here you have the corporate world. And the corporate world essentially is interested in bottom line. It wants results. There's shareholders. There's people that want to see profits. They want to see increase, and but at the same time, in order to do that, the most important factor is people. If you don't have highly engaged, motivated, values-driven people that don't just do a job because it's a paycheck, but they feel for that job, and they feel some level of empathy and understanding and connection with their colleagues, with their teams, with other aspects of the organization, and also they believe in the purpose and what is the overall aim of the product or service of the organization. Is it giving back to society and the world, or is it purely greed and profit making? So the human element is essential. And I knew that in order to, and then you got all of these trainings out there, and I've experienced some myself. I had a short time as an HR manager, and a lot of the training out there is very superficial, competency-based stuff. Like, here's 5 things you can do to become a better listener. What they don't say is, if you don't have basic respect for others, and you're not self-aware, and you also don't have a healthy level of self-worth, so that you're quite grounded and calm in your own energy, doesn't matter how many tools you teach someone to be a better listener, it's not going to stick. It's not going to become a habit. So I wanted to go below the iceberg, below the surface, because I realized that the only way that you're going to get in lasting habitual change is to work at these deeper levels. But I didn't want to scare off the corporates and say, oh my God, here's some kind of voodoo psychologist, hypnotherapist that's going to come in and psychoanalyze us all. And so I've created a program which I believe is the bridge, where there is a clear emphasis on bottom line. We've got measurable results from hundreds and hundreds of companies and teams. We've seen the profits. But my focus is on the more authentic nature of being human. So if we look at the last 18 months, the biggest request that 2 main requests, which I'm now delivering extensively programs on: understanding and managing energy and stress, because people haven't figured out how to work with the hybrid working, or the lockdowns, and the pressures of family and kids and dogs running around them as they're trying to focus. And then the disconnection with their teams. So, that's one of the reasons I'm extensively launching a new virtual team program right now. So these are the things people came to me with. Now, again, I could come and say, right, stress management, that's easy, right? So, you drink some, herbal tea at night, you do this. But if at a deeper level, that person doesn't have a sense of healthy self-worth and value him or herself enough to want to take care of their mental, physical, and emotional health, which is essentially the 3 energies that we all have, then they're going to burn themselves out. They're going to, if their balance in their life is, I want more money, I want more, I need more, I need more, and they're coming from a fear mindset of scarcity, and at the same time they don't have a healthy self-worth and respect themselves because they were taught a very strong worth ethic by their parents that, work hard, play hard, and this is ingrained into their subconscious belief system, then all of the tools that you scratch on the surface in the world, a little bit like New Year's resolutions, will be a complete waste of time. They'll last maybe a short time, but they won't become habitual.
Yes.
So I kind of go, okay, I can give you all of those tools when you're ready, and I can teach you how to, create more balance with your mental, physical, emotional energy. I can teach you, thinking techniques that will help you be more constructive and positive and less worrying about things you can't change. I can teach you stuff that will help manage and understand your emotional states and be more aware of them. But if at a deeper level, your script, your belief system, your subconscious brain is not ready for that and programmed to be consistent with the new behaviors, it will only be a honeymoon. It will be a quick fix, and then you'll go back to the old habits. So I don't do quick fix programs. Most of the programs and interventions and leadership and team developments we're doing are minimum 6 months, often over a year. And especially now in the virtual world, that's even better because we're doing, weekly sessions or bi-weekly sessions, a small little bit at a time. Work on this, and then let's discuss it. And many of the clients also have one-to-one coaching as well. And you see the enormous gradual changes, but we have to work with the subconscious, the deeper beliefs. And that's the limbic system, by the way. The subconscious brain is the limbic system. So that's why my program is called the Limbic Performance System.
Awesome. So I like the concept that, quick fix, how many sessions, how many that 1 day, 2 days. So I like 6 months or 1 year, so that they can implement it holistic way. And you are bridging the gap between the psychology and the corporate needs. That is awesome.
Yes, that's what I aim to do. Yes.
Excellent. And please tell about your book that you have authored on emotional intelligence.
Okay, so, well, this was a while back now, but Emotional Intelligence Coach, I've written several books, but this one was perhaps the most famous, and I wrote it 12, 13 years ago now. So I think it was about, I'm not brilliant with time, but I would guess 14, 15 years ago, I qualified as an executive coach in the UK with an organization called Coaching and Mentoring International.
Okay.
And I qualified as a coach. And what I realized is I was lucky in that I'd already got a background in psychology, and I'd done a therapy course, and, I'd done various people development based courses. But even then, when I came out and I qualified as a coach and I got my certificate, and then I was let free onto the world to go and play with people's lives as a coach, I wasn't very good. It took me a year and a half later of practice and mistakes and to really become a highly skilled coach. And what I realized is, my course was 1 year course. It wasn't a weekend, and now you're going to become a coach. And at that time, the market in the UK was being flooded by short, cheap, nasty coaching courses where, I even know one company that was offering like coaching certification in a weekend, and they were getting 300 people in a room having lectures at the front. Nobody was getting any one-to-one practice. And then they got this certificate. I'm now a life coach. And myself, and actually my trainer, who was an amazing lady and dear friend ever since, called Lisa Spencer Arnell, who I co-wrote the book with, we were kind of horrified by this. We were horrified by the lack of quality and the lack of supervision and the lack of understanding of what really effective coaching is. So my inspiration to write the book was, okay, here's the deal. I've already qualified as an emotional intelligence practitioner. I understand the world of emotional intelligence. I understand how to teach and embed self-worth, self-awareness, respect for others, empathy and connecting with other people's emotional states, and, you know, all of these different elements that you'll find in emotional intelligence models. That has to go hand in hand with coaching. So hence the title, Emotional Intelligence Coaching, because you cannot be a highly effective coach unless you have a certain level of emotional intelligence yourself.
Yes.
And at the same time, I figured out a lot of the coaching and things like, you know, the GROW model, and they're great tools, but they can also be hugely superficial. You know, somebody comes to you and says, well, I got a problem. You say, okay, so, you know, let's use the GROW model. Tell me about it. What's the goal for the session? What's your current reality? What are your opportunities to change this? And what's your way forward? And again, that can be a highly cognitive, what I call rider-based, rational activity. But we need to work with the subconscious elephant as well. If we're going to understand, is it the right goal? What's the motives for the goal? And what do you need to know to it? So my motive was for the book was to challenge the quality of coaching out there, raise a standard and say, this is what good coaching is about. This is not good coaching. So, you know, I integrated a number of good and bad examples into the book of this is what a bad coach would do right now and the questions they would ask, and it's leading and it's their own judgments. And this is what a more effective coach would do. And at the same time, integrate emotional intelligence into coaching so that there was a deeper level to coaching, not just some superficial cognitive activity. And it seemed to work, you know, the book, well, the publishers are still getting it translated into different languages. I know a number of language coaching schools that have adopted it as the course text. And I've been lucky enough to be invited to go and do training with coaches and talk about the concept of the book around the world. Last time I did something last year in London and one of the big coaching schools there. So even though the book is like 13, 14 years old now, the content is still as valid as ever. And,
Yes.
and of course, the concept of coaching, okay, at that time, you know, 14 years ago, the market was flooded in the UK. But I was last year living in, you know, the Baltic states. I was living in Estonia. My wife is Estonian, and it's growing there. The concept of coaching is growing, and exactly the same problem is happening. You know, coaching is already starting to get a bad name because people are calling themselves coaches without any kind of credibility or professional qualification. And then they're going out and companies are hiring them and they're saying, well, this doesn't work. This was a bunch of nonsense. And I'm like, yeah, it was, because it wasn't real quality coaching. So it's a passion to raise the standard and create effective change through coaching, because it is an incredible tool if it's at a top level and it's done properly. Yeah, long answer maybe.
Yeah, no, it is important. And there are a couple of products displayed in the website. So I wanted to ask certain information about active reflection journal that you have created. So could you please tell about it a bit, Steve?
Yeah, the journal, which I made many years ago as well, is, well, it was part of one of the modules on my Accredited Masters program and my Masters in Leadership program. And it was around self-awareness. And what I decided was, you know, because the Masters modules ran at approximately 1 month intervals, you know, I did, those days it was all in the classroom. Can you imagine that? You know, real people in a real room. But, and there was about a month interval, and I wanted to create something originally for the Masters team to say, right, here's an activity in increasing your self-awareness over the next month. I want you all to complete this journal, you know, 1 entry every day. And then when we meet up again in a month, let's see what happened. But the concept of the journal was all about self-awareness, and it was all about being aware of mindset and emotional states. But then I'd also discovered the concept of priming. Priming is a well-known psychological mechanism whereby if you introduce somebody to something like a certain activity or focus before the main task, then they are primed and leading in a direction that will make an influence on that main task.
Okay.
So I did lots of study. I studied the work of Professor Richard Wiseman and Martin Siegelman, that was launching and developing the School of Positive Psychology in the States at the time. And I kind of grabbed some of the current research on what makes people happier. Now, we have to be careful with this concept of happiness, because for me, it's just a fleeting emotional state. It should never be the goal. Fulfillment, groundedness, awareness, these should be goals in my belief. Happiness, sadness, these are all valid emotions. They come, they go. But nevertheless, happiness was a buzzword at the time. And I looked at various short activities that had helped to shift people's mindset to a more positive or abundant one. So the journal I did every day for 30 days, one short task that people should do that would, direct their mind into a more appreciative, love-based, kindness-based or positivity-based place. These tasks normally took like 5 or 10 minutes. And then the second part of every day was to write 3 reflective questions on, your experiences that day, what you've learned, what you would do differently about it, what you were grateful for that day, and what you are looking forward to and will be grateful for tomorrow. So again, and what I found, it was highly effective, because the happiness task already put people in a more open and reflective and grateful mindset. And then they answered their reflective questions. And the idea was, over the period of a month, they would make a more lasting change in the way in which they viewed the world, or at the very least, they would become more self-aware when they were taking themselves down a negative spiral rabbit hole of, worry, concern, complaining about things that they couldn't even influence. So that's what the journal was. It was a combination of those 2 things. And again, I haven't really changed it. It's been there now for many, many years. And, I had the latest batch last year. One company bought gifts for all their staff for Christmas and said, give us 100 of those. Wow. People are still saying it's useful. So, good. Yeah.
And there's a Limbic Performance System for Outstanding Leadership. Is it online course available where you have made it available for people?
Yes. So what I discovered way before COVID came along, and the normality of virtual learning now, and these kinds of meetings. So about 6 or 7 years ago, I decided that I needed, I was getting increasingly international teams, and I needed to have a tool whereby the team could be trained over a period in my master's in leadership program. And there would be live elements, live being sometimes classroom, sometimes a call like this. But I basically took the whole knowledge of my Accredited Masters program and I recorded it onto something like 20 hours of videos. Okay. So it is. And more recently, I've done the Teams version of that as well, which is about to be launched. Well, it is being launched this month. Okay. And what it is it's a step-by-step journey with, there's an evaluation questionnaire, so a self-evaluation or a 360 evaluation on 17 different elements of the Limbic Performance System. So you get measured on things like self-awareness, self-belief, flexibility, openness, trust, these kind of elements. And then people go through a journey step by step to develop these with videos, with worksheets. And there's also a whole bunch of guided hypnosis sessions in there as well, which I've recorded.
Oh, amazing.
So it's a lot, there's a huge amount of content in there. And I use it either as, it's an independent program that people can just buy and go through the whole program of self-study, or it runs parallel to taking an organization or team through a leadership journey as well. So there's live sessions with me or one of the coaches and facilitators, and then they watch a couple of videos in preparation for the next session, or something happens and they find themselves losing their temper one day. So they go back to the video and understanding and emotional management, and they take it's that basically, that's what that is.
So now it is available for everyone across who is interested to learn this beautiful system.
Yeah, it's currently being used and has licenses issued in about 40 countries.
Oh,
And also there's an organization in the Middle East, in Sharjah, in UAE, called NAMA.
mhm.
And they are an organization of supporting female entrepreneurship. Um, and they've also taken some of that program, and through a deal with the United Nations, they have taken some of the elements to share with disadvantaged communities around the world, and it's been translated into Arabic and various other languages as well.
Beautiful.
So that's what's happening with that. Yeah.
Wow. And tell me, this very unique title has caught my attention, like anything leadership through the eyes of a child. What is this?
Okay, so this came about because I've been also actively working with charities, and one of the partner charities that I've been helping is Save the Children.
Mhm.
And again, many years ago, I did a training course which was sponsored by Statoil, and now Circle K, one of the big petroleum companies. They were then Norwegian. I think they're Canadian now. And we brought a bunch of teachers and social workers from around Lithuania to a nice venue, and we gave them a free training, which I led, around emotional and social intelligence and working with children. Not that I'm an expert in working with children, but tools that they could use and understand to help support themselves. And then I sat down, and the honest truth is, I was sat down having a glass of wine that evening with the CEO of Save the Children, a wonderful lady called Raza. And I said, you know what, Raza, something's just occurred to me. These incredible ladies that we train today, so many of them were coming up to me and saying, you know what, so much of the stuff that you're telling us, and it is so valuable. I think, you know, a lot of the children do this naturally, and we as adults forget. And I went, God, you're right. And I don't know how much the particular glass of Shiraz or whatever it was had helped me get this idea, but I went, I've been getting this wrong. We should write a book for business corporate leaders written by young children about how to be an effective leader. And we'll get the wisdom from children, not from some aging psychologist like me that's done loads of academic study. You know, I teach, you know, mindfulness, awareness, self-love, respect for others, not judging others. Kids do this all naturally. They're born with this until society or the way they're educated teaches them not to. But there isn't a child on the earth that's born to be racist or prejudiced. It's only the society that they live in that teaches them you shouldn't like that kind of person or that colored person. There isn't a child on the planet that's born with a lack of self-love and acceptance, that's self-conscious and worried about what other people think of him or her, or the way he dresses, or worries about status. But society teaches them that. So I'm like, this is the stuff I'm teaching, my God. So what we did is one of my dear friends, who is a school owner in Lithuania, Irma. I said, Irma, can we do the project with your school? We'll interview the kids around 9-10 themes or lessons around emotional and social intelligence, the stuff I teach, see what these 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, up to about 11, 12-year-olds have to say about this. And the wisdom that came out of them was just golden. Okay. So we captured that in a book, we translated it into English, and I wrote, and then we got a big celebrity and the most famous pop star in Lithuania at the time, and a big TV host to endorse it. And then we went, okay, we're going to do a launch conference. So we're going to invite some of the senior chief executives and business people from the country, including the education minister. We're going to invite them to your school, Irma, and I'm going to, you know, do a keynote talk on the role of emotional and social intelligence in leadership. And then what we're going to do, and it was one of the scariest moments of my career, is we're going to send all of these business leaders off to do activities with the children, where the children, the 6-year-olds, are going to teach them how to be better leaders. Wow. And it was scary. It was amazing. It was powerful. It was so powerful that it got into the emotions of the education minister. And we gave him a copy of the book. And he said, right, I would like this in the schools.
Hmm.
Or I would like, so what happened from that, led by my colleague Irma, and this is still very much alive today. We're currently, working on a bid now to put this into the Finnish school system in Finland. Irma went, okay, and she got some support, and we piloted about 20 schools where we taught the emotional intelligence to the teachers and how the LPS to the teachers, my program. And then also we got an educational psychologist who adapted some of the materials for children for different ages. And also we taught the teachers how to teach the children, but of course you have to teach the teachers first, right? You can't go to a chemistry teacher and say, tomorrow you're going to teach Spanish, so why would a teacher be able to teach emotional and social intelligence if they're not very good at it themselves? And so we got the teachers to do that. We measured the results. It was a massive success. I was invited to the Lithuanian parliament to present this project to all of the heads of schools around the country and the senior ministers. That video of that talk is available on YouTube if you Google Steve Neale Lithuanian Parliament talk. And as a result of that, my colleague Irma was invited to the 6th and the 7th International Conferences of Emotional Intelligence to present the results. And now it was made about 2 years ago, it was made mandatory that this is taught in every school in Lithuania. So we rolled it out throughout the whole country. That all came from this book and teaching these wonderful social workers and their wisdom about children know this stuff. So yeah, that's where we're at, and we're rolling that out step by step across the country. And now we've got a model. We've got 2 years of data on this. Irma is doing a PhD at Vilnius University to study the effects of this, the results on the effects on exam passes and bullying rates and absenteeism and burnout for teachers, and how this is, helping with all of these challenges. And particularly now, teenagers and young children are suffering more than ever with mental health and suicide and depression. I think lockdown and all of the other stuff that's been going on and the fear in the world has all contributed to that. So it's needed more than ever now. And we've been making moves in Estonia to do something similar. And also we're now putting in a bid to do something with the Finnish education system. And because we've got a model, we know we've had a lot of learning from that. I know it's a long story there, my friend Nizam, but that's where
I'm not stopping you because, Steve, the reason is educational system is more of a left brain oriented, logical. And when you said your work and your contribution has spread across in the corporate, in the schools and everywhere, I was like just listening. I didn't want to stop you, and it was awesome going on. What I'm going to do is your YouTube channel also I will provide as a link in the YouTube description so that people can watch it, and I will also watch it at the earliest. Steve, it was amazing talking to you, and I loved these titles, your program, your journey. It is very inspiring. You're really doing a great job, and all the best for your future endeavors as well, Steve.
Nizam, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. As you can see, I don't shut up when I get started, but I hope that's been useful. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you everyone for listening.
Bye.